Hello, welcome back. I am Russell, and we are chugging along right here. We're almost done. In this video, chapter 9, we're going to go through installing Next.js. We just learned some of the basics of React, and this is how we go from a front-end library to a full-stack framework. So we're going to install Next.js and refactor your React app to Next.js. So let's get right into it. Start chapter 9. When you use Next.js in your project, you do not need to load the React and React DOM scripts from unpackage.com anymore. Instead, you can install these packages locally using npm or your preferred package manager. Note, to use Next.js, you will need to have Node.js version 18.17.0 or above installed on your machine, and you can download it here, which I believe is just nodejs.org. But just Google that and find, if you don't have Node.js, you can do that. And again, we did that before by just doing node-v to see what version we have. You can do that right inside your terminal and you'll see what you have there, okay? All right, so with that, to do so, create a new file in the same directory as your index.html called package.json with an empty object. So we're gonna create a new file called package.json, and we're going to open up an object, okay? In your terminal, run the following command in the root of your project. So we are in the root already. I'm just going to clear this, and we're going to run this. I will type it out, npm install react at latest, react-dom at latest, and next at latest. So we're using Node Package Manager to install the latest version of React, the latest version of React DOM, and now the latest version of Next. So I'm going to click enter, and it's going to start installing all that stuff. So once installation is complete, you should be able to see your project dependencies listed inside your package.json file. So we're going to let it run for a minute, and once that's done, we should see some dependencies show up in here. As it's doing that, I'll just continue reading. So it says, don't worry if you're on, there we go, it all showed up for us, perfect. So don't worry if you're on later versions than the ones shown above. As long as you have Next, React, and React DOM installed, you're good to go. So yeah, we have later versions, and at least with Next, and that's fine. We're on to Next 15 now. Jumping back to the index.html file, you can delete the following code. So the HTML and body tags, the div elements with the ID of app, the React and React DOM scripts, the Babel script, the script, basically a lot, the script tag with the type, the text JSX, the document, basically creating the root, and the React part of use state. So let's go back here and start deleting this stuff. So the HTML and body tags, we can delete those. We can delete this div tag, right? I'm gonna delete these ones too. The React and React DOM scripts. So those are those first two. We can delete those. We can delete the Babel, because Next.js has the compiler built in. The script tag here, and the document.getElementById, and the React part of, I can also delete all this stuff. Don't need that. And this, it's also saying. So from here, let's see if I got this right. So, and then it's saying, after deleting the lines above, add the following import to the top of your file. So I'm going to go do that and then just check that I have everything. So import, in curly braces, use state from React. And then after that, I should have function. Let's just clean this up a little bit. Okay, so we have a couple different functions. Just make this a little easier to read. Somehow I think we lost the closing curly brace there. You know what? I'm just going to copy and paste this just to make sure I have this all right. So here we go. Paste it in there, and there we go. Cool. The only code left in the HTML file is JSX, so you can change the file type from HTML to JS or JSX. And this is importantly going to change my formatting. So now I believe it should be better. I'm just going to copy and paste this again just so that the format is much better, easier to read. Okay. So now we have different functions in here, our header, our homepage component, right? We're returning those. And really now we just cleaned up all the other imports in there because everything's in our node modules and in those packages that we just installed. All right, so creating your first page. Next.js uses file system routing. This means that instead of using code to define the routes of your application, you can use folders and files. And this is a really cool feature of Next.js. So instead of having index.html and then other files, HTML files that define pages, we can do that using a file system. So here's how you create your first page in Next.js. Create a new folder called app and move the index.js file inside it. So we're going to go inside just by clicking down here in the empty space so that we're in the parent level of our folder, and create a new folder called app. Okay. And then we're going to take our index.js and drop it inside that app folder. Rename your index.js file to page.js. So I can just click enter and rename that to page.js. Add an export default to your homepage component to help Next.js distinguish which component to render as the main component. So whichever component we want to be the main one, in this case, the home page, like that's the page and then the header exists inside of that, we're going to do export default before the function itself. Okay. And yeah, so they basically show you that here. So we have our header up here and then we did the export default. Now running the development server, because previously we were using live server, but there's a development server built into Next.js. So next, let's run your development server so you can see the changes in your new page while developing. Add a next dev script to your package.json. So open up the package.json and above the dependencies, so I'm going to click on the end of line 1 and click enter. I'm going to add a scripts. And then this will be set equal to an object. And we're going to have a dev script. And that's going to be next dev. Okay. And I need a comma here at the end of the curly brace because that's an object. Okay. Check what happens by running npm run dev. So before I do that, I'm going to close my live server just by clicking this, disposing of it. And you should see this. If I try to re-render, now it won't work, which is good. So now I'm going to go back into the terminal and I'm going to run a script, which is npm run dev. And this will spin up a development server. So if I click enter, it's going to take a second and then it's going to say starting, and it's going to load a development server at this localhost 3000. You should be able to control click this and it'll open a new page in your browser. And as that loads, it says, when you navigate to localhost 3000, you should see the following error. Failed to compile your importing component that needs use state. And so I'm going to stop this and try to reload it. Sometimes there's just, yeah. So there we go. We got our error and it says we need use state, right? This React hook only works in client components. To fix this, mark the file or its parent with the use client directive. So this is because Next.js uses React server components, a new feature that allows React to render on the server. server components don't support use state, so you'll need to use a client component instead. In the next chapter, we'll discuss the main differences between server and client components and fix this error. A new file called layout.js was automatically created inside this folder, inside this app folder. We can see it right here. It just showed up. And this is the main layout of your application. You can use it to add UI elements that are shared across all pages. So you can think about like navigation, footer, things like that, right? So every page of your website typically has a nav bar and a footer. And we really don't want to have to recreate that on every single page that we generate. So we can use this layout file to do so. Okay. So it shows us the example, and we'll walk through this. So summary, looking at the migration so far, you may already be getting a sense of the benefits of using Next.js. You remove the React and Babel scripts, a taste of the complex tooling and configuration you no longer have to think about, and you created your first page. Additional reading, Next.js routing fundamentals, defining routes, and pages and layouts. And with that, you've completed chapter 9. Congratulations. You've installed Next.js and are ready to start building your first app. In the next video, we will go over server and client components. And with that, I will see you in the next video.